Welcome to this in-depth breakdown of one of the most shocking moments in daytime television history, the day Sir Anthony Hopkins stormed off the set of Loose Women following an explosive clash with panelist Denise Welch. For those unfamiliar, Loose Women is a long-running British talk show on ITV, featuring a panel of women discussing current events, personal stories, and celebrity interviews in a casual, often lively manner. The show has been on air since 1999 and is known for its blend of humor, heartfelt moments, and occasional controversies. On this particular episode in early October 2025, the panel included regulars like Ruth Langsford, Colleen Nolan, Janet Street Porter, and of course, Denise Welch, who is famous for her outspoken nature and candid discussions about her life experiences, including mental health and relationships. Sir Anthony Hopkins, the legendary Welsh actor renowned for his roles in films like The Silence of the Lambs, where he won an Oscar for portraying Hannibal Lecter, The Father, another Oscar-winning performance, and countless other classics, was invited as a guest. At 87 years old, Hopkins is still active in the industry, recently involved in projects that showcase his enduring talent. The invitation was likely to promote his latest work or perhaps discuss his memoir or artistic pursuits, as he's also a painter and musician. The audience was buzzing with excitement as the show began, with the theme music playing and the panelists taking their seats around the iconic table. Hopkins entered to thunderous applause, looking dapper in a tailored suit, his signature white hair neatly combed, and a warm smile on his face. He greeted the hosts politely, shaking hands and exchanging pleasantries. The initial segment went smoothly, with questions about his career highlights, his approach to acting, and some lighthearted anecdotes from his time in Hollywood. Hopkins shared stories about working with directors like Oliver Stone and Steven Spielberg, captivating the audience with his eloquent speech and dry wit. However, as the conversation progressed, the tone began to shift subtly. Denise Welch, known for her forthright opinions, started to interject with more personal questions, probing into Hopkins' private life, his past struggles with alcoholism, which he has openly discussed in interviews, and his views on modern celebrity culture. At first, Hopkins responded graciously, drawing from his experiences to offer insightful comments. But Welch's persistence seemed to irk him, as she pushed for more details, perhaps aiming to create a deeper connection or spark a debate. The other panelists tried to steer the conversation back to lighter topics, but the undercurrent of tension was palpable. Viewers at home could sense that something was brewing, as Hopkins' responses became shorter and his body language more reserved. This set up the stage for what would become an unforgettable confrontation, highlighting the clash between Hollywood poise and daytime TV candor. As we delve deeper into this incident, it's important to consider the contexts of both parties involved. Hopkins, a method actor with a reputation for intensity, has always valued privacy despite his fame, while Welch thrives on sharing and discussing raw emotions. This dynamic was bound to create sparks, and indeed it did. The episode, broadcast live, quickly became a talking point across social media, with clips going viral within minutes. Fans of the show and Hopkins alike were divided, some siding with the actor's right to boundaries, others appreciating Welch's attempt to humanize the interview. In hindsight, this moment reflects broader themes in media, such as the balance between entertainment and respect. But let's not get ahead. First, we need to recount the build-up in detail. The show opened with the usual banter among the panel, discussing headlines from the day, including perhaps some celebrity gossip or political news. Then, the announcement of Hopkins' appearance brought cheers. He sat down, and the interview commenced with standard questions. "Sir Anthony, what brings you to Loose Women today?" one host asked. He replied with charm, mentioning his enjoyment of British TV and eagerness to chat. Little did anyone know, this would escalate dramatically. To fill out this narrative, let's imagine the studio atmosphere: bright lights, colorful set, enthusiastic audience. The cameras captured every expression, every gesture. As the segment continued, Welch's questions grew bolder, touching on sensitive areas like aging in Hollywood, mental health challenges, and perhaps even current events that Hopkins had opinions on. He answered thoughtfully, but his patience was wearing thin. This paragraph sets the foundation for understanding the explosive clash that followed, providing background and context to appreciate the full impact of the shocking TV moment. As the interview on Loose Women progressed, the conversation took a turn towards more controversial topics, setting the stage for the impending clash between Sir Anthony Hopkins and Denise Welch. Initially, the panel discussed Hopkins' illustrious career, reminiscing about his iconic roles and the accolades he's received over decades in the film industry. Hopkins, ever the professional, shared fascinating insights into his preparation for characters, such as studying real-life figures or immersing himself in scripts for months. The audience laughed at his humorous tales of on-set mishaps and his impressions of fellow actors. However, Denise Welch, with her characteristic directness, steered the discussion towards personal territory. She asked about Hopkins' sobriety journey, commending his openness but then questioning if he felt Hollywood's party culture had changed for the better. Hopkins nodded, acknowledging progress but emphasizing personal responsibility. Welch pressed on, sharing her own experiences with addiction and mental health, which she often does on the show to inspire viewers. This could have been a bonding moment, but Hopkins seemed uncomfortable with the depth of probing. "I prefer to keep some things private," he said politely at one point, but Welch interpreted it as an invitation to dig deeper, asking about specific relapses or family impacts. The other panelists, sensing the shift, tried to lighten the mood with jokes or redirecting questions, but Welch's persistence continued. She brought up a recent interview where Hopkins discussed his views on social media and celebrity activism, challenging him on whether actors should use their platforms for political statements. Hopkins, known for his measured opinions, responded that art should speak for itself, but Welch countered with examples of stars like herself who advocate openly. This exchange started to heat up, with voices raising slightly and gestures becoming more animated. The studio audience murmured, captivated by the unfolding drama. Hopkins' face, usually composed, showed flickers of irritation, his brows furrowing, his responses clipped. Welch, passionate in her delivery, leaned forward, emphasizing her points with hand movements. The producers in the control room must have been on edge, deciding whether to cut to commercial or let it play out for the ratings boost. Social media began buzzing even before the break, with live tweeters describing the tension. This part of the script highlights how a seemingly innocuous interview can escalate when personalities clash. To expand, let's consider Welch's background, a former actress in soaps. Like Coronation Street, she's built a career on being relatable and unfiltered on Loose Women since 2005. Hopkins, conversely, comes from a classical theater background, trained at RADA, and values decorum. Their differing styles, one tabloid-friendly, the other more reserved, created friction. As the segment continued, questions about Hopkins' age and relevance in modern cinema irked him further, as he defended his ongoing contributions. "I've been acting longer than some of you have been alive," he quipped, eliciting laughs but underscoring his defensiveness. Welch laughed too but followed up with a comment on ageism, which Hopkins took as patronizing. The air thickened with unspoken resentment, leading viewers to hold their breath. This build-up is crucial to understanding the explosion that followed, as small irritations accumulated into a breaking point. In recounting this, we see how live TV can amplify emotions, turning a chat into chaos. The paragraph captures the transitional phase from cordial to contentious, providing a detailed narrative of the verbal sparring that preceded the storm-off. The tension on the Loose Women set reached a boiling point as the clash between Sir Anthony Hopkins and Denise Welch intensified, leading to heated exchanges that shocked everyone present. What started as a discussion on personal struggles morphed into a debate on broader societal issues, with Welch questioning Hopkins' stance on mental health awareness in the entertainment industry. She cited her own advocacy work and asked if he felt more could be done by veterans like him. Hopkins, feeling cornered, retorted that actions speak louder than words and that he's supported causes quietly. Welch, not backing down, suggested that public figures have a duty to be vocal, referencing recent celebrity scandals. This back and forth grew more animated, with Hopkins raising his voice for the first time, saying, "I've lived through more than you can imagine, and I don't need lectures on responsibility." The audience gasped, and the other panelists interjected, trying to mediate. Ruth Langsford said, "Let's keep it friendly," but the damage was done. Welch, defensive, replied, "I'm just asking questions that viewers want answers to." Hopkins shook his head, muttering under his breath. The conversation then veered into politics, with Welch bringing up global events and asking Hopkins' opinion on actors boycotting awards shows. He expressed disdain for such gestures, calling them performative, which Welch challenged as out of touch. "You live in a bubble," she said, prompting Hopkins to snap back, "and you thrive on controversy for ratings." The studio fell silent for a moment, the weight of the words hanging in the air. Cameras zoomed in on their faces, Welch flushed, Hopkins stern. Producers signaled for a commercial break, but the argument continued off-mic briefly. This moment exemplified the raw, unscripted nature of live TV, where egos can clash spectacularly. To delve deeper, consider the psychological dynamics. Hopkins, a survivor of personal demons, might have felt vulnerable being prodded, while Welch, empowered by the show's format, pushed boundaries for authenticity. Social media exploded with hashtags like #HopkinsVsWelch, fans debating who was right. Clips circulated showing the escalating tones, body language experts analyzing crossed arms and pointed fingers. In this paragraph, we explore the core of the conflict, the verbal barbs that cut deep. Hopkins, known for his intensity, channeled a bit of his Hannibal Lecter menace in his glare, while Welch stood her ground, embodying the show's loose spirit. The exchange highlighted generational and cultural differences in handling fame and privacy. As the break approached, Hopkins appeared ready to bolt, his chair pushed back slightly. The panel tried to wrap up positively, but the awkwardness was evident. This build-up to the storm-off keeps viewers hooked, wondering what tipped the scale. Extending the narrative, imagine the audience's reactions, some cheering Welch's boldness, others sympathizing with Hopkins' discomfort. The incident sparked discussions on interview etiquette and celebrity boundaries. Ultimately, this paragraph bridges the rising action to the climax, detailing the explosive dialogue that made headlines. Character count: approximately 2,500. In the climactic moments of the Loose Women episode, the explosive clash between Sir Anthony Hopkins and Denise Welch culminated in a fiery argument that left the studio in stunned silence. The debate had escalated to personal jabs, with Welch accusing Hopkins of being elitist in his views on modern media, saying, "Not everyone has your privileges, Sir Anthony." He countered sharply, "And not everyone seeks the spotlight for every personal issue." The panelists gasped, and the audience murmured loudly. Welch, taken aback but resilient, defended her approach, "This show is about real talk, not scripted politeness." Hopkins, his face reddening, stood up abruptly, removing his microphone. "I've had enough of this nonsense," he declared, his voice booming across the set. "You're rude and disrespectful." Welch tried to respond, "I didn't mean to offend," but Hopkins waved her off, turning to the other hosts. "Thank you for having me, but I'm done here." He then stormed off the stage, leaving the panel in shock. The cameras captured his exit, the door slamming behind him. The remaining time before commercial was filled with awkward apologies and attempts to downplay the incident. Langsford said, "Well, that was unexpected," trying to laugh it off, but the tension lingered. This shocking walk-off became the talk of the town, with replays dominating news cycles. Analyzing the exchange, it's clear that a mismatch in expectations fueled the fire, Hopkins anticipating a light interview, Welch aiming for depth. Social media reactions were swift, with some calling Welch a bully, others praising her for holding her own against a legend. Hashtags trended worldwide, and memes emerged depicting Hopkins as Lecter-eyeing Welch. In this paragraph, we capture the peak of the drama, the words that led to the departure. Extending the details, the production team scrambled, cutting to ads prematurely. Backstage, Hopkins reportedly vented to his team before leaving the building. Welch, emotional, addressed the audience post-break, explaining her intentions. The incident raised questions about guest treatment on talk shows and the fine line between engaging and invasive questioning. Fans speculated on whether it was staged, but eyewitness accounts confirmed its authenticity. This moment not only boosted the show's ratings but also sparked broader conversations on civility in media. To fill the narrative, let's imagine the immediate aftermath on set, the panel regrouping, discussing the clash briefly before moving to the next segment. Viewers at home were glued to their screens, sharing clips instantly. Hopkins' storm off was a rare display of frustration from the usually composed actor, making it all the more impactful. Welch's response post-show, perhaps via social media, defended her passion for honest dialogue. This paragraph encapsulates the explosive core of the event, providing a vivid recounting for the video script.